So, chapter 34. Time passed. Cat and Mum came downstairs arm in arm. I hadn't seen them like that in a while. I was able to deduce from their body language that they had made up, and this made me pleased, because it showed how much better I was getting at reading body language. Then Aunt Gloria came down in her dressing gown. Her lips were flat, and her eyes empty looking, so I didn't know what her body language was saying, and I was less pleased about this. Dad and Rashid went out to fetch an Indian takeaway for everyone. They returned with a dozen foil containers of steaming food. Rashid sipped a beer and stared at his food without even starting. "How was work?" Mum said to Dad. He shrugged. "Quiet. I was out Peckham Way today on another job." Then nobody spoke. I wanted to tell them what I knew and all about my conversation with Detective Inspector Pierce, but she had told me to say nothing for now in case people started to hope. She explained that normally hope is a good thing, but if you hope a lot for something and it doesn't happen, then you are disappointed, and it's called being let down. I asked her if being let down was like coming back to Earth with a bump, if you let air out of a hot air balloon too fast, and she said yes, it was like that. Then that started another train of thought, that hot air ballooning was something I'd try one day, but only when the weather was set fair, and I'd bring instruments for measuring air pressure and temperature and making recordings and "Houston, calling planet Pluto," Dad said. I looked over at Dad. This is what he says to get my attention, where my thoughts are far away from where my body is. "Pass the rice, Ted," he said, smiling. I passed the rice. There was silence again. It was as if everybody had decided that Celine was not to be mentioned. Cat kept winding a brown curl of hair around her finger. Aunt Gloria lit a cigarette, but forgot to smoke it. I watched it burn away and followed the trail of smoke through the air as it burned. It was deflected to the left over her shoulder, although there was no window open and no air in the room. This made me think of the Coriolis effect again, and how it is invisible and can make things change direction. "Aunt Gloria," I said. "Shh, Ted," Mum said. "No, let him say what he wanted to say," said Aunt Gloria. "Why are you lighting cigarettes and not smoking them?" I asked. "Ted," said Mum, "give your Auntie Glo a break." Auntie Gloria gave a tiny smile. I didn't even notice I'd lit one. "Tell you what, when this is over, if he comes back, I'll give the damn things up. That's a promise." She sat back, tears going down her face, and took a long drag. I wasn't sure if she was crying at the thought of having to give up cigarettes or because Celine might not come back safely. The room was quiet again. "If he comes back," she repeated, which was how I knew she was crying because of Celine, not the cigarettes. I carried on eating. When I put my knife and fork down, I listened to the silence. I heard the clock ticking again. Then I felt blood pounding in my ears. It was like railway wheels going round in my head, trains of thought running out of control, couplers snapping, the boy on the slab, the boy in the train. Mum made a pot of tea. I heard a spoon rapping against china as Dad stirred in his sugar. Salim or not Salim? "I can't stand it anymore," Aunt Gloria said. She leaped up. "The waiting. I can't stand it." Mum reached out and put a hand on Aunt Gloria's wrist. "I know, Glo. Sit down." "You don't know. You can't know. Cat and Ted, they've never disappeared. Not like this. Not for more than 2 days. And nothing. No news. Nothing." "Calm down, Gloria," said Rashid. "How can I? You're all sitting there. You're all looking at me. And I know what you're thinking." "Glo," Mum said, "don't you start. I overheard you today on the phone to Ben. You think Salim's run away, don't you? You think he's hiding from me, don't you? Why don't you just say it?" "Glo," Mum said, "go on, say it." "Maybe if the choice is between Salim being kidnapped by some evil person or he's hiding somewhere, unaware of how much distress he's causing you, then yes, I do think that is, you're saying it's my fault, that I've brought this on myself." "No, Glo, not that. Maybe going to New York for Salim. That was a step to..." It wasn't, Aunt Gloria cried out. "I know my own boy. He wouldn't do this to me. I know." She turned from the table. The sleeve of her dressing gown caught her plate and an onion bhaji went flying. Her shoulders shook. "I'm going out there. I'm going to go and find him. I am." I don't care if I have to walk from one end of London to the other. She staggered in through the door into the hallway. Mum jumped up. Chloe, don't go. I didn't mean... From where I was sitting, I could see Aunt Gloria opening the front door, fiddling with the handle. Get lost, Faye, she shouted. Stop her, Ben, Mum said. She's out of her mind. Dad, looking dazed, got to his feet. Cat got up too. Rashid sat still, his mouth hanging open. Just as Aunt Gloria opened the front door, a siren came up right outside. Lights flashed. There were voices in the front garden, people moving, confusion. A chair fell over, and Rashid rocked on his chair and started groaning. Please, God, please no, he said. A bad feeling went up my esophagus. The police had come, just when Detective Inspector Pierce had told me they would. But I hadn't expected a siren, and it didn't sound like the sirens did when I played ambulances with Cat. It sounded real, near, loud and bad. The boy on the train, the boy on the slab, Salim or not Salim. I put my hands over my ears. That's the end of the chapter. Carry on tomorrow.